Welcome to Unit 12, and this one's titled Planning the Preparation of the Site for the Project or Operation in the Workplace. I repeat that title, Planning the Preparation of the Site for the Project or Operation in the Workplace. This unit has been given a credit value of 11, the smallest units are 8 and I think the largest units are 19, so this falls somewhere in the middle. And let's move straight on to tip of the day. Tip of the day, because if you're working sequentially through these units and following this guidance, the tip of the day refers to you. It should be the case now that you have a quantity of evidence that you've indexed and linked. Now, it should be the case that you ought to have round about 85% of all the evidence that you require now to complete your NVQ 6. It's only a guesstimation, which is a guess and an estimate put together, but you should have a vast amount of information that you could use again. So tip of the day is, before jumping or researching or trying to gain new pieces of evidence, when considering what product evidence you're going to produce, and I will make a list at the end of this video cast, then choose wisely from what you already have, and then choose perhaps 1 or 2 pertinent pieces to complete the unit. Well, let's talk about the unit itself, the unit overview. The title is Planning the Preparation of the Site for the Project or Operation in the Workplace. So we're planning a site for either an operation, perhaps a lifting operation, or you're planning the site preparation for a new project. So my first thought about this is perhaps think about your current project and backtrack your project to the planning stage. What did you or others as construction management have to have, following current legislation, CDM regulation, in place before the first active construction task took place? Consider what documents and processes had to be completed and what company procedures were used. It'll be different for each company. Initially, well, fundamentally, what we are talking about here is planning a site setup or an operation setup. Do you, as a construction manager, have a pre-start setup plan? Well, or do you have to create one? And it will include such things as a program, consideration of contract restrictions, a consideration of access and egress arranged to the build program, because you might have to change your site entrances and access as your site develops, particularly if you're building housing units. You'd have to consider the compound location, health and safety resources and welfare resources and locations, and procedures set up in accordance with construction design management regulation, so that all stakeholders, which also includes near neighbours, in or about the construction site remain safe and are able to carry out their day-to-day life and working duties as safely as possible and as efficiently as possible to a program from project start to project completion. These are the types of issues that you're going to evidence in this unit and through your candidate statements and your product evidence. I've already mentioned about the product evidence. Candidate statements, do listen to the audio guidance very carefully and plan your answers. Now, the types of evidence for this unit, you can use some evidence which would apply to all of the learning outcomes. So, contrary to my normal practice, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to read out the learning outcomes, which plots the path of the unit, the types of considerations that you're now considering. And when I've finished reading out the learning outcomes, and there are 8 of them, I will read out a list of typical product evidences that can be used for this unit. So let's commence with the learning outcomes. The first learning outcome. Number 1, assemble and review information used in the preparation of the project or operation plan. Clarify information which is not clear and update it for production planning purposes. So what types of product information, what types of information would you seek to be able to carry that out? You'll soon recognise them when I go through the product information at the end. Number 2, identify factors for consideration, record them and pass them on to people who may be affected. Number 3, identify access and egress points for the site and works which are safe, convenient and minimise disruption. Number 4, organise the resources required for the preparation of site or work operations. Number 5, give accurate details about the proposed work to the utility and emergency services. Number 6, make arrangements for adequate site or operational safety, welfare, environmental protection and security. Number 7, plan the site or area layout for operational purposes and pass information about the plans to the people on the site. And number 8, ensure notices to people which provide information that complies with current legislation are placed and maintained. So if I go back to the title of this unit, which is Unit 12, planning the preparation of the site for the project or operation in the workplace. If I was to set out a plan, I could quite easily just follow the learning outcomes of this unit by design, and because of the information I'll be able to design a site setup plan just from those learning outcomes. I trust you're still with me. Let's just move on to the product evidence. And what we are considering is product evidence, that is what you do that would help you plan the preparation of the site for the project or plan the preparation of a construction operation in the workplace. So the sort of information that you would be required that you could compare with, contrast, examine and plan your site setup would be from the client the pre-construction information pack, site surveys, contract restrictions, planning information and statutory consents. These types of information will help you set your site up. But you want safe work operations, so you'd also need to have a review of the risk assessments and method statements. You might want to use your subcontractors' contracts and some pre-start contractor meeting minutes. At planning, most of this information will come up during planning meetings, so you might want to refer to the meeting minutes. Look at the drawings, the specifications and the trade task programs. From all of that you should be able to set up a site health and safety plan. Other pieces of relevant information would be service drawings. You won't want to put your site compound or your storage on top of your utilities. You'd have to create a utility schedule, and one does this at planning. Also, from all of that information, how would you pass that on? You would breathe that information or place that information into your induction material. And of course, in a site safety plan, you'll have on that plan all the relevant places where you'll put your safety notices, your welfare notices, your mandatory notices etc., so that at one place you can always check that all the information is readily available and update your site safety plan as and when your entrances or the information that is required for the general public and the site users changes. Well, I hope I've not gone overboard on that. This is the introduction to the planning, the preparation of the site for the project or operation in the workplace. I trust it's given you an overview and a good heads up of what is required. Plan your evidence, plan your candidate statements. You know this is the fast track way. Take your time, give yourself the time you and your studies deserve. Don't rush.